there's nobody that's my size that's riding a bike.
How did you turn this into like an actual sustainable thing?
Because I was still technically like employed, and then one day Specialized reached out to us.
For that bike, didn't Specialized invite you out to do like a speech on it?
I don't know how you know that story, but that was one of the worst moments of my life. That was terrible. Yeah, you messed up, but it was funny.
They liked it. This guy's funny.
We rode Whistler Bike Park as the first time we ever did actual mountain biking.
I wish my first time was in Whistler. That would be so sick.
And I never knew that bikes could withstand me, and which technically they don't really withstand you.
Have you ever had any funny interactions while you're filming a video?
Hey, just want to let you know, we called the cops on you. Some other stuff that I can't say just yet, but you know what I'm talking about. You know
I'm
what
excited.
it is. Yeah.
The audience should be
you're
excited.
one of the few people who know what's happening soon, so.
All right, we are live here with the RECON MTB podcast. We just finished up Sea Otter. It was a wild week, and we're here with Sebastian, Seabass, normal MTBer. How's it going?
Dude, phenomenal. It's always an interesting one, you know, the couple days after Sea Otter, because everyone's absolutely burned out, and you know, you've probably done more sun walking around and just sunburns and dehydration than probably any other time in your life. So
I know,
you know, it's a recovery. We're almost in the recovery phase.
It is a recovery. My neck is so sunburned. I didn't apply sunscreen once all week. It was probably a bad idea.
Yeah, you know, I've learned over the years that I got myself a cowboy hat now, so I walk around with that thing, and I'm a little bit sunburned, but you know, nowhere near as bad as it's been in the past. That kind of made me realize I need to take care of myself a little bit more. So
I might need to get a sun hat, something like that, something of that sorts. I mean, honestly, this is my first Sea Otter. It was kind of crazy. I thought it was going to be a lot more mellow and a lot less going on, but like just constantly talking to people, we filmed so much stuff. I don't know if you filmed anything this week, but
I filmed precisely zero stuff. I didn't pull my phone out once or a camera out or anything. We just went this year just to walk around, you know, see what's new in the industry, talk to some companies, you know, kind of reconnect with friends and whatnot. You know, again, just kind of learning for us over the years. We've many times in the past, we've tried to go to Sea Otter to do content, and you know, as things have been kind of moving forward with normal MTBer, it's become a lot harder and harder every time to do that, where we want to go do something. Oh, Solemn's happening, you know, let's go and get some stories for Instagram or whatever, right? But then it's like, you know, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock pops up. We're still standing in the same spot, still talking to people, still doing, you know, like the brand wants to talk over here, that.
Exactly.
You know? So it's just like, it becomes so much like it to me, it feels like a beehive in my brain of like things happening constantly. Yeah. It's like, next thing you know, it's like 5 o'clock and you missed like all the main events, and now it's time to go get dinner, you know?
And then you've got like 3 hours of traffic to sit in.
Oh yeah. Don't even remind me of the traffic, you know, but in general, I don't want to rag on Sea Otter. It's an amazing
It's such
event.
a great event.
It's cool that it exists, like seriously. So
it's so cool that just everybody gets together for one weekend. It's great.
Yeah, it's wild. I don't know how many thousands of people come to it. It's got to be something insane.
I read a number that said 100,000, but I feel like that's very far off.
I don't know.
That's what Google said.
Maybe that's the number they tell to companies that want to, you know, buy a spot there. I don't know.
Exactly. I'm just excited, dude. I think a lot of people are interested. They see you doing skits, they see you doing comedy videos, and I feel like a lot of people just don't know who the man is behind Normal Mountain Biker. Who is Normal Mountain Biker? So I just want to dig into that. What's your story, and just kind of learn some more.
Well, how far back do you want to go?
Let's go back to the beginning. I mean, how did this start? What were you doing before Normal Mountain Biker?
Yeah, so you know, we grew up in like my brother and I. When I say we grew up in the North Bay in California, little sleepy old town called Novato, California. Man, that's the happening right there. But yeah, man, small town. You know, 50 or so thousand, you know, people growing up in that town when we were there, and you know, it really all started back when we were kids. You know, we grew up in a somewhat humble, you know, lifestyle growing up. Never had, you know, more than what we needed, and you know, it started off with, you know, just riding the bikes with the neighborhood kids in the front yard, right? We were, you know, I think at some point my grandpa or dad or someone had bought one of those like plastic ramps from Walmart or Target or something.
Those will kill you.
Yeah. Oh, the lethal plastic ramps, right? And yeah, we were just in the front yard with the neighborhood kids, just seeing how far we could send it on those things on our clapped out old Target bikes, and you know, just you know, it was just having fun, right? When we were younger, you know, just making those memories as kids, right? And it was never anything where I never wanted to be a professional rider. I never wanted to do anything like this. It wasn't even in my sights of, as a child. It's just I just want to go have fun, be with friends, right? And, they kind of just evolved over the years to, it went from, the plastic ramps to, then my dad built us a wooden one, and we got really hurt on that quite a bit.
You go a lot further on a wooden ramp.
You go a lot further, especially when it's like 3 times the size that it used to be. So, but yeah, no, it went to that. Then, I just saw like most kids in like the early 2000s, because I grew up in the 90s, early 2000s, and BMX started to become a more pop culture type thing around that time. And so, playing the video games like, the Matt Hoffman BMX games and all that kind of stuff. Right. And Dave Mira and all that. Right. So it was really, really cool to play those games. And I was always like, man, that's really cool when you get a BMX bike. And, then what BMX technically was what actually got me into like cycling. That was like the more cooler end of cycling.
Less casual.
Yeah, exactly, less casual, right? And but we were never into like mountain biking, right? That was never a thing. I didn't even think at the time that like, oh, you can go to that mountain and there's a trail and you could ride down it, right? I didn't know anything about that, right? And it actually took when we were kids, our parents had this clapped out old camper, like an old RV, right? And they would take us everywhere on that thing. I mean, we went to Mexico, we went to the Grand Canyon, we went to, Seattle, whatever it was. Like our parents always made a point to show us the world. They wanted to, like, rather than go to Disneyland, let's go see what's happening in this part of the country, or let's go to let's go to the beach in Mexico or something and just live out of the camper, parking in grocery store parking lots and stuff, right? And so that was a lot of our childhood. And one year they got the idea. They're like, oh, we haven't been to Canada yet, and it's not too far away. Let's go. And there's this, British Columbia looks nice. They got nice mountains there, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't know, like I said, we didn't know anything about mountain biking at the time. And so we go on this road trip, and we go, hang out in Vancouver, and then work our way up to Squamish, and watching the cool, see some bears, see we saw like a wood cutting, competition, and then they're like, oh, there's this town like right up the road called Whistler, and that's where apparently the Olympics was at. It's a ski town, right? We're like, oh, that sounds fantastic. So we go up the road and we stay there for a few days. And, if you've ever been to Whistler, it's the village and it's a beautiful scenery, mountains and stuff, everything. It's a phenomenal place if you haven't been there. And we're walking around the village, and there's a very distinguished moment when you're walking around the village when you leave the shops and the restaurants, and then you open up to the patio that shows where the bike lifts are and where the the Crankworks course is, right? And you see all the riders coming down, and we come around the corner and we see that. Just imagine being a little kid that like knows a little bit about bikes, right?
Just enough.
And just enough to be like, just captivated by it. And we see this, and I was, my brother and I were like, oh my Lord, we want to do that. We're begging mom and dad, like, please, 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 can we go ride our bikes? Can we please go over there? And, they said yes. And they were worried we were going to get hurt, right? So,
of course.
So they found a course, one of those like camps that you could take, just for the day. And they took us out there, and I'll never forget it, man. The old Kona shreds, like the Kona bikes.
Oh yeah.
The boxy old frames, man. And I've been looking for that. So if anyone's listening that has an old gray Kona shred, let me know. I'll buy it from you. Like, I've been looking for one forever.
We need one.
Yes. Get one. But yeah, we went up there, did a class with an instructor, and, we rode Whistler Bike Park as the first time we ever did actual mountain biking. And that was the end right there. Like, from there, mountain biking was like the main priority in my life.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
My first time mountain biking was on a flat trail in Missouri next to a river.
Wow.
I wish my first time was in Whistler. That would be so sick.
Hey man, well, it's the memory that counts, right?
It is.
But yeah, no, that's kind of where the mountain biking thing started, right? And fast forward many, many years after that, right? And all the way to 2020 when you had the weird stuff happening in the world, right? Yeah. We were at the time I was working in construction, so I was working for a company and doing like project managing, supervising, stuff like that. I was doing a ton of traveling just all around the country. I mean, I did a stint where I lived in Hawaii, for a year. Like I was on the beach. They put me in a house on the beach, and I was working on a probably shouldn't say where, it was a military base, but I probably shouldn't say exactly where I was. was, but we were doing some kind of projects for solar, and we were building solar systems, and so I kind of went all over the place. I did it for many years, and it was great. I mean, the money was phenomenal. It's like when you're constantly on the road, constantly doing overtime, and you're put in a position where you have a pretty important job. Obviously, that's going to manifest into a good amount of funds, right? Yeah. And then 2020 hits, and everything kind of changed, because I know it's the most generic story in the world, but I stopped working, because I couldn't work anymore. It's like everyone had to deal with that, right? But no, genuinely, we were stuck. We were like, okay, well, there's no projects. Everyone's freaking out right now. And at that point in our lives, we were my brother and I were living with our parents, and back in California, and we moved back in, and we're living there and waiting for this whatever's going on to end. And in the meantime, I was I had a little bit of experience with photography and filmmaking and stuff like that, because I'd actually worked in the bike industry prior to my construction job. Just as a little side thing, when I was in high school, I was doing videos for race recap videos for the California Enduro Series, and we were just traveling around doing those races. So I had some gear that I had left over that I never sold or got rid of, and my brother and I are sitting at home, and we're like, let's do like Instagram. Let's go take some Instagram photos. And originally it was actually my brother Dersey that was the main focus of the channel. Like if you were to go back, all the way down, like through the last 1,000 posts or whatever, you'll see that the first few posts are actually my brother Dersey of him riding. It's the trippiest thing. And that was, it was literally just kind of like a hobby type thing that we're like, maybe one day we'll have a company send us a bike or something. It was like that was the most that we ever thought into it. And originally we kind of wanted to do like merch, like a t-shirt or something, or like a kind of a merch brand or something around it. And it changed very, very quickly, because around the same time, like Instagram Reels became a thing. That was never a thing until about 2020, 2021, roughly somewhere in that time period. And just for whatever reason, I was like, we were out trail building one day, and there were some of our local trails, and I was just like, I have an idea to just I threw my iPhone to my brother, and I'm like, dude, film me coming down this trail here. I want to just see what that would look like, right? So sure enough, he films me coming down, and we do a couple more shots coming around berms and stuff, some slow-mo, some like shred it type stuff, right? And I threw it together and put it on the Instagram Reels, maybe a day or two after they had been released, open to the public, right? And instantly, actually, you know what? I may have been wrong about that. There may have been a couple random reels that we had done prior to that. Yeah. But it was within a short time. So maybe not a day, maybe within the month, right? Yeah. And dude, we posted it, and I put a Suicide Boys song to it, and it just exploded. For whatever reason, this video just people seeing a bigger dude riding a bike and doing some jumps, and very basic video. There's nothing special about it. It was just what was being shown was what really captivated people, and that kind of clicked like a light bulb in my mind, and I was like, that's really strange. All these pictures that we posted and this content we've put out there barely got maybe 1,000 views. Yeah. And then all of a sudden this one's at 100,000 views within the first day. And I was like, this is really weird. Why did this happen? And then it put two and two together that there's nobody that's my size that's riding a bike. You got people like Kyle Straight, who's a big dude, and he's a big muscular dude, but he's compared to when I stand next to him, we're height wise, but I'm I got girth on. I saw it on his bike at Rampage once, and it sunk down. I was like, oh, you're running this stiff, but I need a little bit more pressure in my shock, But yeah, so there really wasn't anybody in the bike world that was doing content from the perspective of a bigger dude, a dude that weighs over 300 pounds, that's so big that he has to pump his tires up to 50 psi to be able to get good grip, and it just kind of turned into what it is now, where now it turned into comedy, and we're doing all the whatever we're doing now. So that's kind of
people everybody on Instagram, they're watching pros and these riders that are super fit, superhuman fit, and in reality, there's other riders out there that are larger, and it's just on Instagram you don't see that. There's not many people, and you're able to reach those people through comedy and content. So it's It's super cool.
Well, yeah, it's just one thing that if I can add there, it's really interesting that the biggest eye-opening moment when we were kind of around that time and everything was kind of really starting to come up. I got so many DMs, and I still to this day like DMs and messages on whatever platform it was of people reaching out to tell me, hey, I'm also like 6'5", and I'm also like 300 and something pounds, and I never knew that bikes could withstand me, and which technically they don't really withstand you, but we make it work, right? It'll work. But I got so many people being like, hey, I didn't know I could do this, and because I saw your videos, like I got myself a bike and I went out and I rode, and it was the best time of my life ever. Like that's so many times we've had that, and it's so cool being able to read that, because it's like, oh, we're not just making funny videos, like it's like this is actually like some people are like seeing a new realm that they didn't know existed.
This is impacting people.
Yeah. It was cool. It's been really cool seeing that. Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. I know with my own content, I mean, I started mountain biking actually because like as a kid, I was super small for my age, and like I couldn't play team sports. Like the obvious path is to start playing soccer, start playing football. And I tried that. It wasn't very pretty.
Yeah.
But I mean, I got into mountain biking, and that was just kind of like my thing was like, you don't have to like fit a certain image to ride a mountain bike or like be super fit. Like you can just go out there and just have fun. Like anybody can. Mm-hmm. So I want to dive more into this. So how did your work in the bike industry before normal mountain biker, before the construction stuff? That was in high school, correct?
Yeah, that was in high school. It kind of manifested a little bit before, like kind of when I was transitioning from middle school to high school. It really kind of, it was one of those like right place, right time kind of situations, right? One of my closest longtime friends that I've, one of my closest friends forever, he was actually a professional rider. So way back, we're talking like freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
He kind of wanted to go down that path of a professional racer, like enduro racing, back when enduro was just starting off. I mean, back then they called it like all mountain or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it was like back in those days. There was another word for it, but I'm totally forgetting the word. But yeah, back then, and that was when the kind of YouTube scene and the edits started to become a popularized thing. Like back when Pink Bike had the video of the day, right?
Yeah.
So it was always our goal, like, oh, we got to make the video of the day one of these days, or movies for your Monday or something, right? And me and my buddy, like he was really good at riding. I mean, he's one of the fastest people to this day that I still, I'm very close with, right? And even though he doesn't ride anymore, which Matt, you should ride still. but no, he was just really starting to come up in the industry. He was starting to get some sponsorships, and we would just go out every once in a while and we'd film edits. It was with him first, and then it kind of, we had a couple other riding buddies in our area, that were also trying to be professional riders. So I'd go and film them, and I'd go and film the bros just on a ride, right? And that kind of got me into the content production side of things, where it was literally just like me with my Canon 70D, or a 2 Ti or whatever, 2 T2i or whatever it used to be called, and like just going out there with the most basic equipment, just something that my mom was nice enough to buy me from Costco, right? And just going out there and making shredits, and on the crappy old laptop that I used to have, lagging every time I try to press play on the playback menu. It's like, and one thing led to another, and I just kind of was brought into a circle of people who were either professional riders or people who were already working in the industry. And keep in mind, this is when I'm like freshman, sophomore year of high school. And on top of that, one little detail that I left out of that is that where I grew up in Novato, for people who are super into the bike world, they know that like Novato is actually one of those. Not only is Marin County, which is the county that Novato's in, but it's the quote birthplace of mountain biking. So we have a lot of people that are pretty significant in the bike industry that live in that area. But I was actually neighbors with Mark Weir. My parents still are to this day. So that's Mark Weir lived like right down the street, and then you had a few other people like Marco Osborne, who he's a racer nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, I knew all those guys growing up. Like I looked up to all those guys growing, still do today. Those guys are awesome, right? And like so I had opportunity to I did an edit for Marco Osborne one time years and years ago, and got kind of access to trails that I wouldn't have been able to see otherwise. And it was just a really cool time to be in the industry, because YouTube hadn't really kicked off yet. It was still starting to bubble up, right? And I kind of kicked myself because I wish that I would have stuck with it back then.
Yeah.
Because after I did that, I kind of got bored with it. I did the racing, I did recaps with racing, and like we made some money, as a high schooler, roaming around traveling around the country, getting, you know, our trips paid for or whatever. You know, it was
pretty
cool.
sick.
It was cool, right? You know, it was like I'd come back to school, you know, after we had been done, you know, it's like, I went, where were you this week? And I was in, you know, Big Bear or whatever, you know, like just random stuff, right? Like no one else was doing anything like that when I was growing up. So it was pretty cool to do it, but you know, it kind of just fizzled out, you know, nothing really came from it. And I, you know, I was at that transition period of my life where it was like, all right, well, high school's about to end pretty soon. And, I got to get a real job.
Gotta become an adult.
I gotta go to college and I gotta go do all this stuff. Right. And, so it never really turned into anything, you know, and until, you know, a few years later, obviously, you know, I finally do the whole, like, I went to college, but I never finished anything, you know, you know, had a bunch of random jobs and then eventually, you know, did the construction job I was telling you about. And that then catches right up to 2020. And towards the end of 2020, when we started this whole thing. So
that is crazy. So that clearly taught you how to work a camera and how to kind of like work with other people in the industry at that time.
Yeah.
And obviously it's changed a whole bunch. Now it's a huge shift. Now people are even pros, the best pros in the world. If they're not making videos, if they're not making content that people want to watch, not just a GoPro video, then like their sponsors are going to start questioning. They're going to start maybe taking some thinking twice. But I mean, how did you figure out how to kind of like take it the step up beyond just videoing stuff? Like you mentioned, you had the shredits once you started to get back into mountain biking and back into the creating videos. So was it really just like, did it really just click with that one video?
Not 100%. It made me realize that there's more to it than what I've been seeing, right?
Yeah.
It was that first like aha moment of like, oh, I didn't know videos. I've never had, like, literally up until that point, I never had a video go beyond like 10,000 views ever on anything ever, right? Yeah. And seeing it hit like the 100,000 views and then the 500,000 views, you know, that was like the moment where I realized like, oh, something I did in this video, something happened in this video to make people want to watch it.
Yeah.
And you know, that kind of took me down this path of obsession of, you know, I was genuinely obsessed with how do I make, like, why do videos go viral? Like, why is this person able to consistently get, you know, 100 million views per month, whereas this person who works just as hard is only getting like 10,000 views a month?
Exactly.
You know, and really trying to figure out what that dynamic is and what I should do. And to be honest, I haven't really fully figured it out yet. I think there's so much and there's so much change that's happening constantly every single day that you can get pretty close, like what Mr. Beast says. You know, he has like a whole bunch of stuff how he talks about how he goes viral, right? Yeah. But the thing is, like, I don't make the same content as Mr. Beast does, right? I'm not in the same niche as him. So it's like what might work for him, obviously there's a bunch of fundamental things you want to do, but what might work for him may not work too well for me, if that makes sense, right? So it was just kind of finding that full balance and just obsessing over, okay, we would post a video and we'd see how it would work, and I'd literally watch it. Well, the moment I'd post it, I'd see kind of like how many views it got within like the first 10 minutes, like within the first hour. I'd keep mental note of all that stuff. I'm like, okay, so this one got like 1,000 likes in the first hour, you know, but then this one over here only got like 150 in the first hour. Why? And then I'd fine tune it over time, right? To the point where I kind of got down to, you know, a system that worked, like figuring out the hook, you know, and figuring out like how do I keep people engaged through the whole video? Like, are they gaining any value from this video? You know? And that's all changing, right? Like I said, I don't know the whole thing. It's just, I found it worked for a good period of time. And now it's like, okay, things are changing again. Now it's like, okay, what's the next thing on the horizon? And I think that's what's interesting is that like so many people find one thing that works and then they only stick to that and they never want to evolve. And that's why you have all these channels nowadays that are just completely dropping off and they're just disappearing out of nowhere. And then you see a video that pops up, you know, after them not posting for a month, and then they're like, I got a real job, you know? It's like, what do you mean?
Job application.
I'm selling my van, you know? So, yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick pause right now and explain a bit more about RECON MTB. So we're a mountain bike media company and an e-commerce store where you can buy any of your mountain biking products. We have over 10,000 of the best mountain biking products that you can get for your bike. And we want to make purchasing your bike products fun and give you something in return. So every single dollar you spend gets you one entry into winning your dream bike every single month. So next time you need to pick up something like a tire, new knee pads, or anything for your mountain bike, just head over to reconmtb.com and let's get back to it. You've clearly cracked it pretty well. I mean, what's your take on just like the shift that's happening right now? Like, Do you think everybody has to do this, or is it just the people that can't hit 110-foot jumps at Darkfest, or do you think everybody's got to start doing this? Like, what do you think?
Well, it's interesting because I consider myself to be on the complete opposite of like someone at Darkfest doing a 110-foot backflip, right? It's like those guys have an immense skill that I probably will never be able to do or nor be willing to do because I'm not going to put myself through that, right? So I'm very much on the other side of the spectrum, right? So I think in general, you have to have a brand for like your own personal brand, no matter what. No matter what you want to do, you have to have something that people know instantly who you are, right? Yeah. You have to be able to walk into a room and not have people continually ask who you are.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the most important thing. And it sounds very vain and it sounds, narcissistic, but the reality is that, it's a lot easier to accomplish things that you want to do. Those dreams that you had when you were a kid are a lot easier to accomplish when people know who you are.
Yeah.
So if you're able to build that up and create a brand that not only, is memorable, but also makes people feel a certain way, that's going to be pushing you forward faster than anything else can. And that's different per person too. I would hope that there's not two brands that are the same. Obviously you can take notes from other people, but you want to create the brand of who you are, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the thing that kind of one of the harder things that for me, right, is what is my identity? Who am I as a creator in the space? Like, how do other people think about me? It's like all these different questions you have to ask yourself, and they all kind of bundle into this one thing that's an ever morphing, substance of hunk of meat that's just like floating in the ether, right? That's portrayed to everybody out there in the world, right?
It's what they think of when they hear normal mountain biker, it's the first thing that comes to their mind is your personal brand. Like for a downhill racer like Jackson Goldstone, he's doing much different stuff than what you and I are doing. His whole thing is that he's extremely fast and people can really look up to him in the way that like he's grown up riding bikes. He was this kid, we watched him grow up, and people can really get inspired. They can see, especially young kids that want to get fast or they want to become a better rider. They can almost see themselves in the footsteps of him and be like, I want to do that. So I think that everybody has to have their own unique kind of stamp on it.
It's interesting. Jackson Goldstone is one of those people that I really hope one of these days he starts a proper vlog YouTube channel or something where he shows his personality more, because the dude is awesome. I've only ever met him in passing, but he probably doesn't even remember. I just said hi to him one time in Whistler, but in serious passing, right? But no, I really hope that he starts some kind of channel one day just so that he can put his personality out there more, because he's a funny dude. Like the clips that I've seen of him, on socials, it's like, oh, dude, you're a kid, you're hilarious.
He's got a personality.
Yeah,
He's
right.
Not just this no-faced person that is just really good at riding bikes.
Yeah,
like that's one thing that I think a lot of people have gravitated towards him through the years. Is like back in 2017 when Pink Bike was posting videos of him, or like whoever it was, they were showing him on camera. It was this kid who was talking to the camera like he was an adult. Like people loved it. This kid wasn't shy and he was just putting himself out there. I want to see more pros do it because I think their personalities are just so almost vibrant. Like Matt Jones, he's killing it. Him and his brother with almost the universe. It's like the multiverse of Matt Jones.
Yeah.
Where he's got Hellfair, he's got Mavericks now, which is super cool, his video game. And he just vlogs every single day, or not every day, but he vlogs quite often and just doing cool stuff.
He's an overall really nice guy too.
He is.
Yeah, Matt Jones is awesome. Yeah, it's interesting. The first time I ever met him, it was at Otter last year, and I just went up, said hi, but he didn't recognize me at first. We're walking away, and I hear hey, and I see him running up, and he's like, oh dude, I know who you are. And we just chat for a little bit, genuinely really nice guy, all those guys. I haven't met Jono yet, but I know that they're twins, so I'm sure they share some of the
personality,
right? But yeah,
it's so sick. He brings everything every mountain biker loves, cool cars, cool bikes, building dirt jumps, all of this stuff into one channel. And I think people really resonate with them. That's his personal brand. It's just doing cool stuff.
The thing is, we see these professional riders through just the lens of the race events or the competition, the Crankworks, or the YouTube, right? And it's so many of these dudes, like when you get to know them, they're rad. Like so many of them, like the utmost, like they have some of the coolest personalities. They have like some of the most crazy lives too. Some of the stories you hear from them and like their travels and all this stuff, and it's just like, dude, like, why aren't you sharing this with the world more? Like, this is stuff you could write a book about, It's like, let alone like a YouTube channel. But yeah, no, I think the personal brand, going back to your original question, I think that's super, super, super important for these guys. Because like with someone like Matt Jones, I mean, how many kids do you see like nowadays that watch his videos religiously that want to be someone like Matt Jones, but they just don't have a person to like put them down and be like, hey, this is how if you want to be someone like Matt Jones, do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, right? There's not much that's available right now in the world for that. I got lucky because I had some friends that were already in the bike industry, that I was able to, on rare occasions call them and be like, hey, like, you have any advice? But not everyone has that. I was in a very lucky position to be able to do that. And then just the trial and error constantly, of like, figuring out like, what's the best thing here? Like, how do I navigate this problem? How do I navigate that? There's no one really to tell that to you.
I started off really young. I posted my first mountain bike YouTube video the month I got my first mountain bike. And I kind of just started doing YouTube videos for a few years until I kind of got almost burnt out of that because I was putting so much into it and just like kind of like wasn't seeing anything back. And I was like, okay, kids at high school are kind of teasing me for it. Like, I'm just gonna maybe step back from it. And then I started doing more short form content, and it caught back on. And I just reapplied the stuff that I've learned with YouTube. Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of almost a natural path for some people. And I mean, not everybody's lucky enough to kind of fall into that path. And it's almost like you need somebody to just sit you down and like tell you like this is what you have to do. Yeah,
you either go the really hard way of figuring it out for yourself, which will take decades.
Or you can have someone tell you.
Someone tell you, right? Yeah, that's the thing. I hate it when people gatekeep, information, right? I mean, that's the toughest thing, because you could ask pros like, hey, how'd you become a pro rider? And they could just say, they'll probably give you something like, oh, just ride your bike faster. Right? Yeah. In simplified form, that's what it would be, right? But they don't tell you about how you got to make sure that you meet this kind of person. You got to make sure you have someone that's going to be able to get you into events. You want to make sure you have someone that's going to be able to connect you with the bike companies, or someone that is going to know when it's time for you to move on to a different brand or something like that, right? Like, all these things are really, really important. And it's like, if you don't have a guidance there, then you're just going to be going in with the wind, letting the wind just kind of take you in whichever direction that may or may not be a good situation for you.
I know, you could get lucky or you could get unlucky with it.
Yeah. And it's like, you're better off like luck. So luck favors those who work hard. Yeah. And that's the hardest thing for so many people to at least comprehend at the very least, right? Yeah. Because it's like, it's so easy to see someone like Matt Jones and be like, oh, well, he's just a rich kid and his parents bought him all those cars and the Ferrari and the ranch and the jumps in the backyard and Jamie helping him out and all, it's like, no. Like, Matt Jones worked for that. Like, he had to spend hours and hours and hours and hours building up the brand that he has.
Exactly.
And, and he may have gotten help from people, but the point is that he stuck with it and he built something.
He's posted thousands of videos.
Literally thousands. Yeah.
It's crazy to think of.
Yeah.
I mean, the more shots on goal you take, the more likely you are to get lucky. Mm-hmm. You got to put yourself in that position. Mm-hmm. I mean, all right, I want to take a shift right here, and I want to kind of dive into some of your favorite videos you've ever made. Okay. So that's a pretty big question, but what's, out of all of the videos, it could be long form, it could be short form, what's your favorite video you've ever made?
Dude, the answer has shifted, as the time has gone on, right? Because we're always doing new stuff, and I tend to, when I think of the favorite, I think of like the most memorable. And the most memorable is one of the hardest ones we've ever filmed. And that was a few years back when we were working with Specialized. The Levo SL came out. And at the time when that dropped, it was like, I mean, that was the hottest bike on the market. It's like everyone wanted one. And we had to keep that thing secret for a very long time. But we filmed the video with Cody Kelly on behalf of Specialized. And dude, that video was insane to film. It was a full-on YouTube video, full production. We had multiple camera guys out there. We had the whole 9 yards, like outfits, the whole thing, right? And we went to a little town called Oak Ridge up in Oregon. And Oak Ridge, for anyone who hasn't been there, is in the middle of nowhere. Like, it is a tiny town that connects the Eugene area to the Bend area. And that's like, it's in the mountains, and that's it, They have like 2 restaurants and a grocery store, and that's it. And Yeah, man, that project was so hard because we were out there for I think about a week, and every day we were waking up super early before the sun came out, heading out there, waiting for golden hour, out on the mountain the whole day. Like even if the lighting wasn't good, we were like, all right, let's go over here and do this. We got to get this done. Let's do a thumbnail. Let's do all this kind of stuff. And man, that project just killed me, like absolutely killed me. I think I couldn't move for like maybe a week after. I sat and did nothing for like a week because we were doing so much stuff, so much climbing. We were probably covering maybe 20 miles per day, like
while filming.
Easily while filming. That's like it, like from the sun up. It may not seem like that much. Like 20 miles a day, I can do that on my e-bike, no problem. But it's like no, like we're doing 20 miles a day of like traversing, but not including every shot that we did back and forth. That's 20 miles of ground covered,
Wow.
so it was brutal, man. And the only thing we would have for dinner at night is like a pizza place that was still open by the time we were done. So we were eating like this like mediocre pizza,
just fueling you for the week.
Yeah, that was all we had going for us, and some Gatorades or something, but that was brutal. But it was like the payoff was amazing because it's the most, to this day, one of the coolest videos that I think I've ever done, because it's like we had this cool creative idea and I was pretending to be Cody Kelly, and it kind of turned in, we had a voiceover of some country dude, and like it was just super, super cool. It was a great experience, and like that really taught me, now we're on the subject of like learning stuff, that really taught me how much work goes into some of these edits that people are making.
Yeah.
And that was a mild one too compared to other productions out there. So hats off to the guys that are filming videos every single day doing that stuff. So
it takes so much longer than people realize when you're filming and doing something. Like I used to film myself building a lot of backyard features, and I had a series on my YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. It takes so much longer when you have to set up every single camera angle, start recording, and then even after that, you take a cut and you're like, oh my gosh, that was a horrible camera angle or something like this. You got to redo it. It takes forever. Mm-hmm. A lot more goes into it than people realize.
Yeah. A lot of waiting too. Like waiting for weather to align, waiting for bikes to get shipped in. It's like sometimes you have an edit plan or a video plan that's like supposed to happen next week, and then it's like, oh, the product got delayed, it's stuck on a ship somewhere, and you're like, okay, well, gotta wait for that, and then like wait for the editing to happen, wait for the release time to happen. For when we finished that video, that bike, we filmed that like over a year before the bike came out. Like we were sitting on it, knowing about that bike for over a year. It was so hard to keep a secret for so long. I'm not even joking. Yeah. I don't know. There was some kind of issues with getting it to market. So I don't know exactly what happened, but eventually it got to market. Everything was fine. But like, just sitting on a secret for that long of like such a sick bike, it was painful. Absolutely painful.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but for that bike, didn't Specialized invite you out to do like a speech on it, and you showed up and there was like 200 people waiting for you to give a speech?
I don't know how you know that story. But that was one of the worst moments of my life. That was terrible. Yeah, no. So there was, like you said, there was an event at the Specialized headquarters and down really close to us, actually, here in San Jose, like down in, I don't know what, somewhere over there. It's like an hour from here. And so Specialized does this like big event. we get invited. They want me to do some kind of speaking portion, and I'm thinking, this is gonna be, just a handful of people, like no big deal. We get there, and it's this giant auditorium, like this massive room with a big stage up front and projectors and like a bunch of seats and like a little food bar thing. And I'm just like, oh no! Like I was like, because I haven't done public speaking since I was a kid, so I hadn't spoken to like a crowd that big, and people just start pouring in. At a certain point, it's like it fills up so much there's no more seats available, and there's people standing around the edges, right? And to make things even worse, when I was supposed to go up was the very last thing they were doing. Oh boy. So it was like 2 hours of just the most mundane like business talk for like literally 2 hours. And then I'm sitting in the back like going over my lines and what I'm going to do and like freaking out, just full panic mode. And so I finally get up there, and like we had this whole thing where I was going to jump up on stage, and it was going to be this whole, thing, right?
No pressure.
No pressure at all, right? In front of every important person ever, right? And so we jump up on stage, and I do the thing, and I get up there, and I made the mistake of like completely just like letting my anxiety take over. And I looked down, and there was apparently they were running it on Zoom. And I remember looking down, and there was like a laptop that had Zoom open, and I saw it was like 600 people or something on Zoom. And I'm like, oh man, on top of like the 300 that are in this room, there's like 600 people on Zoom as well. So it's like now the audience just effectively doubled or tripled, right? So I get up there, immediately forget everything I was going to say, like completely bombed it. Everyone's looking at me just like, what the hell is this guy doing? Like, what is wrong with this guy? And I'm up there just choking up, and like, I'm looking over at the guys that are like running the thing. And yeah, long story short, I stumbled my way through it and eventually, did it. But it was like supposed to be like a 5 or 10 minute long thing. It was like 30 seconds, dude. Like, it was terrible. Like, I just got up there and said some gibberish and, stood in the corner and just hoped no one would notice I bombed it that bad. And, yeah.
So this was for the launch of the Levo SL.
Yeah, it was. It was there when they let everyone in the company know what's happening. I don't know, there's a specific word for it, but they kind of bring everyone together, tell them, hey, this is what's been going on. This is the new stuff. This is the information you should know about it. And, they had a bunch of retailers as well. So that's what people were on Zoom for, they were a bunch of retailers all over the country. So you have all these CEOs of all these bike shops all over the country watching me just fumble, right? So now everyone knows me as the guy that went to Specialized and got totally jacked up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it was, one of the worst moments of my life, but also a great eye-opening moment, because the amount that I learned about myself there was like, all right, I clearly have panic like when I have to talk to people in public like that. So yeah,
it's crazy. Like you think you'd be like, so like me personally too, I struggle so much with just like getting up in front of a crowd. Like I'll get through it, but like, dude, I'm terrified of it.
It's scary.
But
right?
I'll talk to a video and that'll go to like, it'll
millions of views,
millions of people.
Yeah, it's like no problem. Like whatever.
Different.
Yeah, totally different. It's amazing how that's the contrast there, because it's like you start to look like the town I grew up in is only 50,000 people. You see 50,000 views on a video. I'm like, oh, that's terrible. That video did horrible, right?
That's an entire town.
That's a whole town, dude. And then you have videos that like millions and millions. And it's like that's whole states. Yeah, that's whole countries right there that are watching your video, man. It's like I know you've had some videos that have gone berserk, like absolutely berserk. Yeah. It's like you really comprehend that it's like, oh, like 10 million people watch this video. Yeah. Like that's bigger than the capital or the country of Uzbekistan or something. You know, it's like a whole country just watched this video. Like what? Like it's hard to comprehend, right?
When it's numbers on a screen, it doesn't really equate to like you can't think about it. It doesn't even make sense in your head. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Unreal.
So did they like did Specialized prepare you? Like did they give you the notes, or were you supposed to make the speech? Like
a little both.
Yeah.
It was like do something creative for my part, and then for them it was like tell this information, right? Like I said, I fumbled it all, and none of that actually got out. But I got good feedback from the crowd. They were like, "Yeah, you messed up, but it was funny."
They liked it. This guy's funny.
like, we just wanted to see you go up there, And it's it was.
That's cool.
No.
All right, I want to dive more into kind of, so we've gotten how you kind of grew up riding bikes. You grew up riding bikes around the neighborhood. Then you ended up somehow riding at Whistler, your first time ever actually mountain biking, which is crazy to me. And then you kind of started filming stuff with your friends and with some pros and getting into the bike industry, and then kind of took a step back from it when you had to go become an adult.
Yeah.
And then you get back into it through just posting some videos. But how did you turn this into your full-time job? Like what was the moment that you were like, you obviously weren't working through the starting periods of normal mountain bike just because of the COVID, but how did you turn this into like an actual sustainable thing?
Yeah, it was quite frankly, it was kind of a big risk. Like I was saying, we during the 2020 time, right? Late 2020, early 2021, we kind of were at a point where it's like, okay, things are kind of leveling out, right? It's maybe at some point, they're going to start wanting us to go back to work, or the projects are going to pick up back up again. Because I was still technically like employed during the beginning times of this, but it just wasn't working, And, it kind of got closer and closer to where like, oh, the world is kind of chilling out now, maybe it's time to go back to work. And my brother and I made the decision. We're like, let's just send it. Let's just fully commit, because we were getting pretty decent views at that time. Nothing like what it is today, but it was enough to give us a glimmer of hope, right?
Yeah.
And we were in a fairly good position. We had money saved up, and all of this was we had invested a bunch into the business and whatnot. But we just made the decision that okay, let's just go full in. Like if we're going to commit, we're going to do it now. This isn't going to last if we wait till next year, you know? So we just took a dive. And one of the things that really kind of helped that move forward was the fact that, you know, we had been working with some brands here and there, you know, nothing too official, you know, just some product or, you know, small stuff like that. And then one day Specialized reached out to us. Yeah. And that was kind of the thing that we were like, all right, if a company as big as Specialized wants to work with us, maybe there's something here. Maybe there's something that the more value that we see that we're not interested in right now. And that happened kind of at the perfect timing. And that ultimately let us, you know, make it a full-time thing. Then obviously there was a lot of ups and downs. Nothing's ever smooth, right? You know, there were some times where we were very not wealthy. Like we're still not like wealthy, but like there was sometimes we were dead broke. Like it was kind of sketchy sometimes, you know. It was like you know, and we're living at our parents as well, right? So it's like, you know, we had a good foundation, but there was some moments where we were like, all right, we might have to go back to work, you know. And no, we just stuck to it and just like, you know, we just got lucky with when it was time to really think about our future. Then all of a sudden the next level came. And, you know, then we had that, the seat dropper video, which that one, I took the seat off my seat dropper and like, it went stupid viral like that. I stopped counting it at about 400 million views. Like that thing was shared like everywhere. And,
oh my gosh,
dude, it was crazy, man. We had like rappers in Europe were sharing that video. We had Shaq shared the video. Like it was wild. Like that thing got reposted. Most of those views didn't go to me, which sucks because everyone just stole the video and did their own thing with it. But yeah, I was keeping track of it. The amount of views that thing got was insane. And that video ultimately was like this is 100% what we have to do. Like we're at the point of no return now. Like, and that's when it started becoming like, you know, we're not just like some guys that are making YouTube videos. It's like, okay, we're actually monetizing off of this now. Like, and we started to figure out how to monetize. And it was like, okay, we can't, like, I'll go to the grocery store and people will recognize me. I go to a bike shop, you know, and it's like, everyone's like, oh, it's that guy, you know. I go to the trails to a ride and there's people that are like taking pictures of me without me seeing them taking pictures of me. It's like stuff like that, right? And that's where it really started to truly snowball to the point where it's like, okay, now we got to really think about like product deals, like company deals. You know, we got to think about like commercials. We got to think about like, are we going to travel to this event? Are we, you know, where are we, you know, it's like, who's comping this, you know, and everything really starts to become an actual business at that point where we're no longer just making YouTube videos or Instagram videos. Now it's become an actual business where like we have to strategize so that like, if this company wants to work with us, we want to make sure we deliver for them and they're happy and we're selling their products and X, Y, and Z, as you know, very well.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people think it's just like you get views on a video and then that's the business right there. But Instagram doesn't pay anything.
No, Instagram
TikTok pays like a little bit and YouTube pays a little bit.
Yeah.
Like if you're monetized on them, but I mean, you have to really kind of go that extra step and turn those eyeballs into whether it's brand deals or your own product or whatever you decide to kind of do to make it into an actual business, because that's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting. One of the things that people don't really, you know, to add to what you're saying is like there's this stigma that you'll see like really big creators, you know, like the Paul brothers or whatever on YouTube, and they're like, oh well, they're super rich and they get a bunch of views. You know, there's also the niches on YouTube where it's like, they're doing very generic stuff. You know, we're doing a very specific niche of mountain biking that you can't really sell a lot of stuff. Like AdSense can't really bring you much money for those views, right? So much of the revenue comes from those brand deals and from our own personal brands like merch and whatnot, right? Yeah. This is one of the things I actually talked about in a recent video, because people have always asked me like, oh, how much money you guys are making, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I finally broke it all down. And it was like, okay, all the money comes from this, and this, right? And then deals cost this much, this costs that much. YouTube does, you know, pays about this much. Instagram doesn't pay anything. You know? And it's like hearing people's reaction to that. It's like, they think that, you know, it's like, oh, they're making millions of dollars off of Instagram. It's like, nah, that'd be nice, but nah, that's not what's happening.
Instagram doesn't pay anything.
Yeah.
What's your favorite platform to post on then?
I gotta say YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube by far. Yeah. I mean, I love the meta platforms because that's where we started from, right? TikTok was that next step that we took that really kind of like brought us into a whole new audience because of the generation Gen Z or Gen X or whatever that they're using the TikTok platform. But YouTube has been very consistent. They don't play with algorithms.
Yeah.
You know, like so many of the, like Instagram, I feel like every month they have a new algorithm or algorithmic change, you know, and same thing with TikTok. Like you have to just work so hard to get a video to get good views on those platforms. Whereas YouTube is, you know, they want to show those videos to the audience that cares about you. And they don't really veer beyond that. I mean, little things here and there, but it's like been fairly consistent. And the fact that YouTube pays us too. So I like that.
When you get a video that gets like 500 million views, or when you can attribute it to like tracking across all the people that are resharing it, that's mainly not mountain bikers, right?
No. I mean, because there's not 500 million mountain bikers in the world, right? It's I would say most of our audience is going to be the people who want to mountain bike, but either don't have the money for it or don't have a place to do it. Like they may live in a place where there's literally nothing for bikes at all, which is a lot of places in the world like that, right? That want to one day, or they might, you know, go to a bike park sometimes and rent a bike and stuff like that, right? And it's really generally a very small amount of the follower base that's actually a proper like mountain biker, that they're serious and whatnot. So it's
kind of cool. I feel like I know from just like being kind of like seeing people do comedy in other spaces, like the car space and just spaces that I'm kind of a little bit in, but like not nearly as much as in mountain biking. And I feel like I almost learn more through the people that do comedy and kind of almost like make fun of themselves, make fun of other people in the space. Like exactly what you do. You're poking fun at all the things wrong about mountain biking, all the people that are that's what people find funny. So I feel like you can almost like, if you're kind of like that just general viewer that like knows about it, but you're not really that into it, then like you can learn almost more about it through that than like actually diving into the sport and stuff like that.
Well, the thing is it's so intimidating to look at people who are on the World Cup circuit and racing and like smashing through rocks, right? It's like the average person can't comprehend that mindset. I can't even comprehend that mindset. I've been biking for years and years and years. And so it's like trying to make something relatable to people, right? Because ultimately what I want to do is get it to the point where, you know, bring as much people as I can into biking, even if it's just a weekend warrior, right? You just go out, you know, once a month, even if it's that, you know, it's like, I want people to hit the trails because it achieves a bunch of different things that I kind of want to see in the world, right? I want to manifest the world that I want to live in, right? And so it's like, get people out to nature, you know, get them fitter, even though it's very hypocritical of me saying that, you know? Like, get them more in shape, right? You know, it's like have a connection with something beyond like just your couch at home, you know, it's like, breathe fresh air. Like, imagine how much better our world would be if people would just go every weekend just to go breathe air. Like, don't breathe city air. Like, don't breathe that like laptop work air. You know? It's like, get out of the cubicle. Like, go do something, right?
Go ride your bike.
Yeah. And on top of that, it's like, if you get into the bike industry, a lot of these pros, you know, obviously right now there's a lot of weird tension in the bike industry because you have, you know, all these pros that rightfully deserve to be paid more and so on and so forth. So it's like having, you know, more people involved in the industry, more of the regular everyday people, like not these athletes and these influencers and stuff. It's like that helps move everyone forward.
It does.
You know, it really does. It's like, I'd love to have one day where we see bike companies, you know, offering NBA type sponsorship or deals, right, to athletes, right?
That's the dream.
I'd love to see someone like Matt Jones or anybody, the Rampage guys getting a deal for like $10 million to do Rampage. You know, it's like, how cool would that be, right? Yeah. I know that it's possible, but we just got to get more people out there, and just bikes in general. Like, most people in the world have a bike. Yeah. They don't have cars. They have bikes. Yeah. You know? It's like, you can do this. Like, maybe don't take your like clunker out, you know, your cruiser out to
just be careful.
Rampage, but
no Rampage.
Yeah. But you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, exactly. Comedy is a much easier way to, it's a much more like approachable way to like consume and learn about mountain biking when you don't really know that much. Yeah. Absolutely. It seems like it gets that person that just kind of barely knows about it to get out on the trail.
Yeah, and it's like what you're saying, to your original point is like, it's it makes it less intimidating too.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there's some sense. Those guys wearing the full face helmets, you can't see their eyes. It looks scary when I look at them on video, but you know what? Maybe they're
all right.
They're all right.
Yeah. Not that scary.
Because have you noticed that there's like, there is kind of like that aura, right? Within biking where you want to be like discreet, mysterious. Like, oh, he's wearing the striped shirts. Oh, that's his style. It's like, get out of here, bro.
It makes it intimidating.
Yeah, it's cool though. I mean, everyone wants their own style, but it's like just looking off. Like when you're at a bike park and you see people like you think someone's like staring at you, but they have the goggles on, so you can't see where they're looking. You're just like, what the hell's going on? What did I do? Yeah. What's wrong with me? So yeah.
Exactly. All right, I want to talk about something that I've got some funny stories from, but what's the have you ever had any funny interactions while you're filming a video in public and somebody rides up on you on the trail or maybe walks past you and sees you and they're like, what the heck are you doing?
Dude, there's a lot, nothing too extreme, but I will say that like one of the things that continually happens is like if we're out and about filming, we started gravitating towards going to less populated areas just because like there is like that real stigma of like, oh, here's some YouTubers, it's like what's up YouTube? Like that whole thing is so cringe. Like it's so cringe. And like people around you feel it too. Yeah. Like you're vlogging on the trails. Like I'll go to bike parks and I just won't bring the camera with me. It's like I've learned to separate like where we're gonna have fun and just ride and hang and like work, right? Yeah. And so just having like weird interactions like that where people are looking at us like, what is wrong with these guys, right? Yeah. I've kind of learned to balance that a little bit. I will say like the public filming is really tough. Like, if you're gonna go to a grocery store or something, like you get a lot of dirty looks, like a lot of dirty looks. And like grocery stores and stuff like that, they don't want you filming in there too. So it's like I'm always worried that we're gonna get like arrested or something like that. But to give you a very specific story though, like I'll give you a very like kind of a bad story. Yeah. There was this one time that back when we were still living in the Bay Area in California, one of the things that is very problematic about where we grew up is that mountain biking is super frowned upon. Like you can ride in some places, but most single track is illegal to ride. And like there's a very big horse community. There's always been a big clash between like the horse community and the mountain bike community. Every once in a while you'll hear a story of like a biker came down the trail and scared the horse and bucked the rider off. And they went to all that. That's happened so many times. But there was this one particular area that I had always known was not a place you want to go if you're a biker. Yeah. But the problem with it is it's very scenic. It's a very, very beautiful area. And so we were like, let's go film a video just in the parking lot. We're not going to take the bikes off the rack, none of that stuff, right? So we go over there and we film the video and everything's great. But then as we're packing up to leave, this lady comes up on a horse and she's like, hey, just want to let you know, we called the cops on you. Oh no. We're like, what? Like, what do you mean you called? We didn't do anything. What do you call the cops on us for? And she's like, yeah, no, there's no bikes here. So we called the sheriff. He's coming right now. We're like, what? And then she just gets on her horse and rides away. And we're like, dude, no way. You got to be kidding me, right? And sure enough, we pack up. We're like, at this point, we're like, okay, we got to get out of here. Yeah. This is not good. I don't want to interact because they're going to just ticket us anyway, Yeah. That's how it is over there. Even though we didn't ride the trails, we didn't do anything, just ticket us, right? Yeah. And so we start packing up and we start leaving. And sure enough, we see the sheriff coming the other way. Oh. We're like, no freaking way. And he just like looks at us and like sees that we're leaving and then just kind of like, didn't do anything. Yeah. So we got really lucky. But it's like, that dynamic has always been really tough for filming because I've mocked multiple times, like the area that I grew up in. I've mocked the county. I've mocked the rangers.
I've seen those videos.
Oh, I've mocked the hell out of them, right? And dude, like it's gotten to the point where I'll go to a park somewhere and the rangers know me by name. They will literally say like, hey, Sebastian. I'm like, how do you know who I've never met you? How do you know who I am, right? And that actually really started to freak me out, like towards the end when we were still living there, where it was like, dude, like, any day they could make an example out of us. Like any day they could take this YouTuber that like, clearly is defiant to their rules and, and he's influencing the youth to go out and have fun on their bikes,
He's making fun of us.
Yeah. It was one of those things where I could just feel, because they have done that in the past, like to continue talking smack about the county I grew up in, but they had done that in the past. Like one of my buddies got caught trail building out there and they tried getting him for over $1 million. Like they tried finding him over $1 million. And luckily he has some, he's in higher places, and he has some, for some buddies that know some people who are in the, the legal space. So he was able to get himself out of that situation and bring the fine way down. And it was like some corruption type stuff. Yeah. Like they were bringing in fake biologists with fake certificates to prove that oh, the trail damage was this much and this is how much it's going to cost.
Oh my gosh.
Like, dude, they were trying to make an example out of him, and they were hoping that no one would question it. And it came crumbling down. Like he ended up bringing the fine way down. He went out there, I think himself, and just shoveled all the stuff away, and it was fine at the end of the day. Yeah. But it was like, that having that happen to someone that I knew was such a eye-opening moment where I was like, oh, dude, like they want to really take down, like they really don't want mountain bikers out there.
All right, well, this has been great. I just want to wrap this up. Yeah. Like, what's next? What's next for Normal Mountain Biker?
Well, we've got interesting stuff that has kind of on the horizon. We decided to this year we're kind of we ended our partnership with Specialized Bikes, and so we're actually solo on the bike side of things, which is exciting. A little bit scary because it's been like the last 4 years or so we've been tied to Specialized, and a lot of the reasons why where we are is because of them, right? So we're kind of doing this new thing where I want to ride some new bikes. I want to try new products out there, get some new stuff in the videos, freshen things up a little bit, take the creativity to a whole new level. I've been sitting on so many ideas. I got notes on my phone of like all these video ideas for like long form YouTube content that that I've never been able to make in the past because it may push the boundary just a little bit too much, right? And I tend to believe that like content's kind of getting a little stale in the bike industry right now. So I want to do stuff that no one has ever done before. Like a couple weeks ago, I dropped the video of me shooting a bike. With a bunch of different calibers with real firearms, right? Like I was shooting that thing and it was so much fun. So it's like stuff like that where it's like really pushing the boundary of what has been done in the content world. And that's kind of the main plan moving forward, is doing that, becoming a lot more independent. We still work with a lot of great companies like, One Up and Heatwave and so on. And so not like moving away from brands, but, trying to create a nice balance for us, something,
opening it up.
Exactly. And trying to be more collaborative with more companies. Right. And I think that's really the name of the game nowadays, trying to find what fits best for what situation. And, it's great stuff. There's some other stuff that I can't say just yet, but you know what I'm talking about. You know what
excited.
it is. Yeah.
The audience should be
you're
excited.
one of the few people who know what's happening soon. So there's some stuff coming up, but yeah, I'm hoping that in the next few months we'll be able to show the audiences and hopefully it's cooler than I hope it is. So yeah.
All right, Sebastian. I'm very excited for you. I'm so happy we got you on the podcast.
I'm happy to be here. Yeah.
This was great. So excited for the future. Thank you for the audience for watching this. And if you haven't, check out this guy's content. You've definitely seen it. If you're watching this podcast and you haven't seen this guy, then you're lying to yourself. You've seen him.
No, but thanks, man. Thank you.
It's been amazing. Been a great podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's awesome. Wishing you guys the best as well.
And we want to give you something back. We want to make purchasing your bike parts fun. You're going to buy them anyway, so might as well. Gotta get this right. I was on to it.
Better. I'm just like this, dude.
Or you can make up any job title you want at RECON.
I'm CEO of RECON.
Oh, whoa. That one.
I haven't met Jono yet, but one of these days I know.
Hey, guys.
Oh, is it? We're all good here?
Yeah.
Off, they bucked off their horse. Oh, and it's to the point where I'll go somewhere and they.
Struggles. Podcasting is hard.